Well, Nigel Champion is putting his time as a lifeguard on PEI beaches to good use. The third-year Dalhousie student conducted a pilot study on attitudes towards sun exposure as a volunteer project for the Canadian Cancer Society. Champion recently received the Community Service Award for Atlantic University Swimming for his volunteer work with the group, as well as a number of other programs. He is a gold medalist at swimming, a two-time CIS academic All-Canadian with a perfect grade average last semester. And Champion plans to go into medicine after he completes his biology degree. He'll be following in the footsteps of his parents, Pauline Champion, who's an emergency room doctor, and Philip Champion, who is an oncologist. Island Morning's Nancy Russell reached Nigel Champion by Skype in Halifax.
Hi, Nigel.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So congratulations on this award.
Thank you very much.
One of the projects that was named when you received this award was working with the Canadian Cancer Society. What attracted you to that particular volunteer area?
I think it was around this time last year that there was a publication. It was by the Canadian Cancer Society, and it was published in CBC, saying that there was a 50% higher incidence of melanoma in, I think, just men, but there's a higher incidence of melanoma overall in PEI versus any other province. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and obviously I have the resources in my household to kind of analyze that. I mean, it's for many reasons that it's higher, and it has been for a couple of years, but I thought it'd be an interesting project as a beach lifeguard, actually. So it's kind of convenient in that regard to just kind of determine maybe some reasons why our melanoma rates are so high compared to the rest of the country.
So you went to your dad and said, what's up? You're an oncologist. What's up with these results for PEI?
Well, pretty much, actually. I think, I might have talked to my mom first, but obviously my dad was the really good resource for that. And, he kind of pointed out the same things that I thought. I mean, PEI is a lot smaller province than any other province, so our sample size for people with melanoma is a lot smaller. I think it's like 40 people got it in the last 2 years, or expected that 40 people would get it each year of the last 2 years. With that number of people, even a jump in a few people, just random chance, would cause like a big increase in our rate compared to other provinces. After discussing with him, he kind of pointed out, and my mom together pointed out, maybe you should do a project like that. And he had the contacts at the Canadian Cancer Society for me to do so. So, I mean, I just kind of took it on as a nice little project, partially just do something with my time while I was working at the beach last summer.
How exactly did you go about doing your study?
Well, I kind of tried to formulate some questions. I obviously used my dad there again because he was a good resource. I'm going to admit that. I guess starting with, male, female, are you from PEI, are you from out of PEI, which age group do you fall into out of 4 age groups, and then moved into kind of like, are you using sun protection right now? Do you believe in using sun protection? How often do you use sun protection? And maybe like try to determine the reasons why or why not someone would be using that, and then see if there's any difference between age groups and see if there's any difference between, whether they're from PEI, a local, or if they're from out of province.
What did you observe as you went about asking these questions?
I saw some interesting trends, actually. I mean, I don't have my data, it's not complete, and my sample size wasn't that large, me doing it myself, and with the help of actually a friend, James Prophet. So I can't really make that much of my data, but there was a few interesting trends I noticed. Approaching people on the beach, they'd more often put sunscreen on their children, older people, but they wouldn't put it on themselves, saying they had forgotten. So people are very, vigilant about their the younger population or their children especially, but they're not that vigilant about themselves, which is kind of interesting. As anyone would expect, the lowest sunscreen use was in, I guess, my age group, 17 to 24, and those are for pretty obvious reasons. People want to tan, or they're reckless, irresponsible, however you want to word it. But I think sunscreen use essentially was very high in young children, then it dipped down, then either end of the spectrum were the highest because either they had responsible parents or because they were responsible elderly people that were starting to worry about getting melanoma or something. The second last question was, are you personally concerned about developing age spots or signs of aging due to excess sun exposure? And then my last question was, are you personally concerned about developing melanoma or any other form of skin cancer due to excess sun exposure? And a lot of people would say, they are concerned about developing age spots and stuff. Then you get to the next question, they'd feel kind of obligated to say that they are worried about skin cancer, but it kind of it was interesting to see people's reactions when they say, like, oh, I thought about looking old, but I actually didn't think about, the possible, like, serious health consequences there are to not wearing sunscreen.
What are you going to do now with the results and with your pilot study?
I mean, I don't know if my questions were perfect, and obviously there's better ways to word any of those questions, and there's better ways to collect data. So I would like to take, what I've, I guess, experienced and learned from my pilot study and kind of apply that to making a new study entirely. I probably won't use the data that I had last summer other than to kind of like use that information to build better questions for next summer, and then kind of like, I think I have a group of people that would be willing to help me do this study this summer. I like to get it approved by national parks so I can do it within the park, then get a bigger sample with better questions, and then hopefully make some conclusion or notice some correlations at the end of the summer.
And what are you hoping to do at the end of doing this study? What do you hope will come out of this?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think the Canadian Cancer Society likes this, likes people doing this in any way. It's not a big hit for them. So if they'd like to use that data, it'd be fantastic. If I could present it somewhere, that'd be even better. But as a lifeguard, I've had presentations done for myself and my colleagues. So I think this kind of data could be incorporated very easily into at least some presentations done around the province to make people more aware, perhaps, of the risks.
You're looking at medicine after your undergraduate degree. Is the area of melanoma oncology, is that something that appeals to you?
I never really thought so. I've actually been told that no matter what you think you're going to do in medical school, you're probably not going to do it. So I could very well end up doing that. My goal right now actually would be emergency medicine, but the more I think about it, oncology or even research sounds actually pretty interesting.
Thanks for telling me about your project, and again, congratulations on the award.
Absolutely not a problem. Thank you for having me.
That's Nigel Champion, who received the Community Service Award for Atlantic University Swimming for his volunteer work, including a pilot study on sun exposure for the Canadian Cancer Society. He was speaking with Island Morning's Nancy Russell, and both Mitch and I had a chance to speak with his proud parents, Pauline and Philip, recently when we were at the home show. And I guess Nigel received some very exciting news yesterday. He's been offered a seat at Memorial University's medical school for the fall of 2015.